What's going on, everybody? Welcome back. Today, I want to talk about something that's pretty cool, but unfortunately, it comes from a bad circumstance. Okay? I want to say shout out and salute to all of the youth across the country that have decided to take it upon themselves to bring attention to this gun issue that's been happening. For those who don't know, I believe in Florida, not too long ago, there was a school shooting. I think last month, it was a school shooting, right? Pretty bad. Many youth lost their lives, and that's very unfortunate. And after that, a lot of these lobbyists and lawmakers have been talking about the issue of gun control, stricter gun control or regulations, so forth and so on. And it seems as if it's just politics as usual, meaning a lot of talking, a lot of quote unquote selling wolf tickets, right? And it got to the point where the youth decided to say, you know what, enough is enough of this talk. There needs to be some more. There needs to be some action behind these words. So what the youth decided to do across the nation, not all 50 states, but a large group of children, or not children, but a large group of youth, teenagers mainly, decided that they were going to stage a protest, which is in their constitutional right, stage a protest by walking out of their classroom as a protest, to bring awareness that enough is enough. Like the youth have had enough of these school shootings, and there's classmates getting shot, and all these funerals that people got to attend, and the sadness of family members. And then you have politicians talking about we need stricter gun control, but ain't nothing happening yet. So the youth just say, you know what, we're going to walk out. Because the last time a group of students was in a school together like this, I think about 19 students. 19 students were shot or killed or something like that. So the students decided to walk out the class. They literally got up and walked out the classroom. They had their picket signs, they were chanting for justice. They were chanting for, stricter gun control, gun laws. And I love it. I absolutely love what they're doing. Because it takes the youth, really, to bring these things to a head. But the crazy part, the part that really got on my nerves, is that there were a lot of adults, teachers and all that stuff, faculty members, discouraging the children, the young ones, from doing this protest. Even with some students, some faculty members, as was reported, even threatened to suspend some of the students if they were to do this protest. But the students didn't care. They were outside of the schools, marching with picket signs, and they were chanting, we want no stricter gun control. I think it's beautiful. And the thing is, it's unfortunate that it had to come to this. It really is unfortunate that it had to come to this. But whenever there has been a movement, whenever there's been a movement going on, history always talks about how there were these old folks who did this movement, civil rights movement, all this stuff, March on Washington. They always talk about how it was old folks. But that's not accurate. If you were to take a real good look at history, true history, whenever there was an uprising or a dissident of power, it was never the old folks doing it. It was never that. It was always the youth, the young, like usually from the ages of maybe, like I would say age range from 15 to 25. That was usually the age range of the quote-unquote youth that headed a lot of these protests or a lot of these organizations. The civil rights movement wasn't started by some old folks. The civil rights movement were the youth. The Black Panthers were the youth. That's what I was saying. It wasn't the elderly. It wasn't the elderly doing all this marching, doing all this protesting, doing all this chanting, these sit-ins. It was never the elderly. It was always the youth. The protest in Berkeley back in the 60s was the youth when they protested the Vietnam War. That was the youth. Muhammad Ali wasn't an old man when he said he wasn't going to go to fight in the Vietnam War. He wasn't old. He was a young man when he did that. The Black Panthers were not started by a bunch of 40, 50-year-olds. Those were young people. College. Like young college. So it's always been the youth. It's always been the youth because the youth has the most energy. The youth are the ones who have the energy to fight back, quote unquote, fight back, when things weren't going as it should in terms of justice. It was never the old. The old ones know, like they always say, elders are for wisdom, youth is for war. Elders are for wisdom, youth for war. But if you want to talk about, who actually were the ones mobilizing and organizing, it was the youth because they had the energy to do it. So when you see a bunch of young people walking out and protesting something like gun control because they're tired of seeing their classmates, their friends, their future prom dates or whatever, they're tired of seeing these school shootings go on. They're tired of it. And when they ask their congresspersons, their mayors, senators, their representatives, because they're U.S. citizens. They may be in junior high and high school. They're U.S. citizens nonetheless. So they have the same rights as any other U.S. citizen. That means they have a right, freedom of protest, freedom of speech, freedom of expression, as long as they're not harming anyone, as long as they're not inciting a riot, because that right there is illegal. When you're inciting a riot, that's illegal. But you have a peaceful protest. As long as you're a U.S. citizen, you have that right to do that. If you can peacefully voice your grievances. And that's what they did. They didn't start any incident. It was peaceful. They had the right to do that. And they were willing to risk suspension, or possibly worse, for this. And I, for one, am proud of them for this. And here's the crazy part. All these school shootings going on, I remember. Hey, little man. Hey. A little dog walking behind me. What's going on, man? What's going on? I remember being in junior high and high school, right? I was in junior high and high school. Never had one school shooting. But we had metal detectors all in our school. As soon as you walked in our junior high school, there was metal detectors there. As soon as you walk into our high school, there was metal detectors there. Not one school shooting. But all these schools that got school shootings, I don't see footage of one metal detector that can potentially prevent someone from coming into the school with a weapon and killing people. Not one metal detector. However, they call the quote-unquote minority schools dangerous. The minority schools are dangerous, but all my years of being in junior high and high school, I have not seen or heard of one school shooting. All the school shootings I heard of were from predominantly, I don't mean to sound harsh, but predominantly white schools. That's where you hear it from. Oh, okay. Let the dog go. So there's one way you can fix that problem right there. Put some of that money into metal detectors, into the schools. That way, if there's someone with a gun or a knife or something like that, some kind of weapon that could do harm or kill someone, you got a way to prevent it. So when we know, I never had to walk out of a school because of a school shooting. Why? We had metal detectors. Our schools were considered dangerous and, not up to par, but never had a school shooting though. So just tell you something. So stop with that. Anyway, hope you enjoy that. I want to say once again, shout out to all the you. Shout out to the you who decided that enough was enough and they protested. I salute you. Keep going on. You're next up, man. Good job, y'all. Peace.